Okay, so today we're going to go in more depth with the archetypes that we talked about on Friday. I know we talked on Friday a little bit about Top Girl, and we said immediately that Top Girl was the villain because she had the most power and she wanted to maintain her power. And so that's why she was the way that she was. Okay. We're going to talk today about Star Blossom though. Okay. Okay. So looking at Star Blossom, I know we could also say that Star Blossom is kind of villainy because at the end of the day, she is the one who, cut the voice box out of Sun, or wanted to cut the neck. Oh my goodness, wanted to cut the voice box out of Sunny. But she's also something else. What do you guys think? What else could Star Blossom be? And I'm going to just kind of scroll through. The other one that we have is mentor and mother figure. And we have anti-hero, sidekick, and hero. What else could Star Blossom be? Yes, Star Blossom could also be a sidekick. And so what we're going to talk about today, because here's the problem. Star Blossom doesn't necessarily fit a sidekick because a sidekick is a hero's closest companion. And the sidekick is not the closest friend of a good pony. It is the closest friend of the villain. So if you notice, Star Blossom can fit two archetypes, but then also doesn't necessarily fit them completely. Does that make sense? So, as we're starting to learn more about our characters and read more about our characters, we're going to find out that, yes, they fit this, but not so much. But they also kind of fit this, but not so much. There's going to be things that make sense, and then things that your author is going to make you question how they made that work. I know some of us, depending on what you're reading, you may have said this person is a mentor because they do this, this, and this, but they don't necessarily do all of the things that a mentor does. Or this person here is a mother figure, but they don't necessarily do all of the things that a mother figure does. Okay. So I also want to point out, this works in real life. I feel like when we know more about our characters and know more about people in general, we understand them more. I don't know if you guys, the more that you learn about somebody, the more you understand the reasons why they are. For example, in school, bullies. What archetype would a bully be? Yes, an archetype of a bully would be a villain. However, I don't know if you guys ever listen to your anti-bullying lessons. Why do people bully? Bullies bully because they're either jealous or they're hurting. So we can't just say, oh, they're just a naturally mean, evil human being like a villain is. But we also learn about a villain or learn about a bully by understanding. Again, doesn't make it okay, but it makes us understand why people are the way that they are, because a bully is also oftentimes a victim. Maybe somebody changed schools and they were bullied at their previous school and they come to a new school and now they're on top and people think they're super cool. And so they're going to use that and they're going to try to maintain their power. And you don't necessarily know this about that person until you get to know them. And so we're going to kind of do the same thing with our characters. If we see how they fit into more than one box, we're able to understand them a little bit more. Does that make sense? Okay. So, all right. So talking to a student, and this might be the case for a lot of your books because in dystopias, a lot of times the government has control. But talking to a student about who their government was, a lot of times the government is the villain in dystopian books. A lot of times their control is evil because they want to maintain the power. They have those actions that motivate, that are important to the plot because people are eventually going to be starting to resist the villain. And again, that's kind of what makes dystopian books predictable. But if you look at it, the government is a lot of times the bad guy. Okay. And a lot of times that is equal. Okay. But a lot of times too, it could also be seen as the mother figure. Remember, when you have two archetypes for a character, they're not going to fit it specifically all the time. So the reason why, if I'm thinking about the Hunger Games, the reason why they have so much control not necessarily over like people get mad about it, but the reason why they want to maintain control is because there was a bad thing that happened and they are trying to make sure that humans stay alive in their area, and they're trying to make sure that people are well taken care of with food. Now, granted, they're using their power inappropriately, but they're still trying to take care of them. So taking care of other people, though they're not doing it in the nicest way, which is where it doesn't fit, still makes them a mother figure. Okay, does that make sense? So it doesn't necessarily specifically fit villain and mother figure perfectly. His villain more, but they are also a mother figure because if you sit back, you learn more about the government because maybe they became powerful because their goal was to take care of humans. And then they learned, you know what? This is awesome. I like this power. And they maybe ran with it, which is what turned them into the villain. Okay. So I want you guys here in a second, after we share what you guys talked about, I want you guys to think as you're reading and interacting with characters, this character is acting this way because they have parts of the villain, but oh yes, this character is acting this way because maybe they're a mentor as well. And so that is going to help you really get to know your characters. Just like I said, you really understand your friends when you learn more about who they are rather than just a single label. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So here in a second, you guys are going to read and then jot down how you see that.